The Galveston-Houston region has been historically driven by port traffic, and without either port, we may not be here today. As part of their mandates, the Port of Galveston and the Port of Houston share the mission to serve as economic drivers for this region. Both the Port of Galveston and the Port of Houston, directly and indirectly, employ more than 800,000 people in the state of Texas. The Port of Houston is also ranked first in the United States in foreign waterborne tonnage and second in the United States in total tonnage. Additionally, Port of Galveston is ranked in the top 20 cruise ports in the world.
In 2007, the Port of Houston Authority and the Port of Galveston recognized that we had a unique opportunity to work together for the benefit of our respective communities as well as for the region and state of Texas. We started to see the signs that there were, with the widening of the Panama Canal, there would be an increase in cargo traffic into the Gulf of Mexico. Taking into account that it takes a long time to plan such a project, we felt that the steps should be taken at that time to try to capture this growth so we would leave a legacy for our children and our children's children.
As we look to the future for opportunities to grow together and further benefit this region, the Port of Galveston and the Port of Houston recognize that the island of Galveston was originally founded to take advantage of a prime natural location proximate to the deep waters of the Gulf of Mexico.
We have an economic mandate at the Port of Houston Authority. We're supposed to be the ones driving and leading economic growth for this region, and we take that responsibility very seriously. And this region isn't defined just as Houston. It's defined as Houston, Harris County, this part of Texas, this part of the United States. And with that kind of expectation, with that kind of importance on our future economic growth, it's imperative that we look here and everywhere up and down the Texas coast to find the right location to site our next big investment in the container business.
The Port of Houston Authority entered into a memorandum of understanding with Galveston Wharves in 2007, agreeing to formulate a joint action plan to create a master development plan for a Pelican Island container handling facility. In 2008, the port signed an interlocal agreement for Pelican Island terminal planning to further outline the planning process. This historic signing represents the full support of both ports at every level to begin the conceptual study of the Pelican Island container terminal facility. Furthermore, both ports understand that a regional approach maximizes resources, including land, funding, industry outreach, and more, to achieve a state-of-the-industry port facility on Pelican Island. This groundbreaking partnership is the wave of the future for worldwide ports. Individual port authorities are teaming to better serve our nation and the world, and to remain competitive in this huge industry. The goal of the Pelican Island Container Terminal Conceptual Planning Study is to examine opportunities to create a socially and environmentally responsible, efficient, and economically feasible container terminal at Pelican Island that will be competitive with other potential terminal sites.
Seaports are the leading economic engines in their communities, and the regions that they serve benefit exponentially from their operations. Throughout the United States, ports generate more than 13 million jobs. And here in Texas, the ports of Houston and Galveston combine for some 800,000 jobs. These are good-paying jobs, good-paying, sustained jobs. We like to point out that every time a container ship calls at a port, it has a cascading effect of keeping 30 people working for 3 weeks. And when you consider that vessel and dozens other calling every week, you can see that the benefits are considerable.
Deep draft ports, like the one that is being considered at Pelican Island, are responsible for moving 99.4% of U.S. overseas trade by volume. and it is anticipated the total volume of cargo moving through U.S. ports will increase more than 50% by 2020, as compared with 2001. Furthermore, international container cargo traffic will more than double by this time. Why will there be such an increase in cargo traffic, and how does Galveston stand to benefit?
The widening of the Panama Canal is going to allow for ships that are larger to transit the canal, so that vessels that previously would make their way from Asia to the U.S. West Coast, those ports would capture much of the market. All water routes will allow for vessels to move direct from points in Asia through the canal directly into ports on the U.S. Gulf and U.S. South Atlantic. And this will create new opportunities for these ports and their regions.
2 container terminals are located within the Galveston Bay system, Barber's Cut and Bayport. In looking at our region, we can see that Pelican Island is only 3.5 nautical miles from deep water. Pelican Island has several attributes that make it an interesting candidate for a container facility. It has a large amount of undeveloped land available. It's close to deep water. It is proximate to the 4th largest city in the United States. With enhanced rail and road access, the major economic centers in Texas and in the central United States are accessible.
In March of this year, the study team met with a number of different stakeholder groups to solicit their input and to hear what kind of opportunities and constraints they think we need to consider as we look at this conceptual planning study. And those groups included, and this is, including but not limited to by any stretch, Texas A&M University, the Parks Board, the resource agencies such as Texas Parks and Wildlife Department, National Marine Fisheries Service, Texas General Land Office, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and many others, the Pelican Island Organization, the Chamber of Commerce. So during those meetings, we took copious notes and learned a lot about what we need to be considering as the conceptual process moves forward. Key issues that were identified included infrastructure, and in particular, how trucks and rail traffic would access Pelican Island, and the need for a new bridge was raised. Another issue was Seawolf Park, and what's the outcome for Seawolf Park? How will stakeholders and users of the park get to the park once the terminal is constructed in operation? And certainly, one issue is the university and the health and safety of the students and faculty at the university. So those are some of the major issues that were raised during the stakeholder meetings.
During facility design, there are a number of mitigating measures that possibly will be part of the Pelican Island facility.
Our approach is going to be based on our project experiences working on Pelican Island and working with the respective state and federal agencies. We're going to look at the primary environmental interests such as wetlands, threatened endangered species, essential fish habitat, submerged aquatic vegetation, and bird habitats first. As we move forward, we'll start looking at other primary interests such as noise related to construction and operation of the facility. We'll look at air. We have specific concerns associated with non-attainment in Galveston County. We're going to look at lighting. We'll also look at dredging concerns, what types of materials we can use and how we can use those for beneficial use projects. And then we're also going to be concerned and look at recreational fishing in the area. The island is known for supporting a significant amount of sports fishery, specifically flounder, during the fall and winter months, and so we're going to take a look at those interests as well.
We're going to look at the most efficient ways of how we dredge and how we get the Pelican Island Container Terminal built. We have found a way to utilize dredge material as a very important ingredient into building and developing marshes and wetlands.
Based on preliminary data that the study team collected, along with preliminary stakeholder input, we have developed 4 alternative designs for a container terminal at Pelican Island. Each alternative design is conceptual at this step in the process. The ports will initiate individual conversations with impacted stakeholders if Pelican Island is selected for further study. There are 2 versions for each design. One is an automated stacking crane, or ASC, operation. One is a rubber tire gantry, or RTG, operation. The design team is on hand this evening to further explain the characteristics of each kind of operation.
Typical terminal has 3 main components: the ship berth area, the wharf, where the cranes lift the containers off the ship; the backland area, where containers are stored and sorted and processed for either exports or imports; and the gate area, which monitors traffic flow. It's also the security perimeter for the terminal. Some marine terminals also have an intermodal rail yard that's either on the terminal or near dock. We have both options for the facilities that we're planning, or the conceptual plannings that we're doing. Alternative number 1 is a 7-berth facility, and essentially it can take 7 ships, and these ships that we're using as design ships are 8,000 TEU ships. A TEU is a 20-foot equivalent unit. A container is 40 feet, so it's 2 TEUs. So these ships can handle up to 4,000 containers. It's a 7-berth facility. It's on the north part, or the upper part, of the Galveston Channel, and it has truck gates and buildings that serve the terminal operations. Alternative 2 is again a 7-berth facility, but is a little further down the Galveston Channel, and that facility requires a little more dredging because we have a bigger area to get to the berth. It also has a little more impact on the surrounding tenants. Alternative number 3 is located at the northeast side of the island, and that terminal is the most easily accessed, but it also has the biggest dredging footprint because that's the shallow water area through there. Alternative number 4 is different because what we're doing there is dredging a channel and a turning basin that's into the center of the island. We're trying to utilize the land that is owned by the ports and not disturb any of the tenants. This project is a fantastic opportunity for Galveston to develop a deep water seaport that is very much in need in our logistics systems.
So what are we doing now? Well, we're still very early in the conceptual planning process. We're only on step 7. So tonight we are showing 4 alternative designs to the public and collecting their input on these designs. What kind of opportunities exist? How does this facility coexist on Pelican Island? What kind of constraints do we need to consider? And once we've collected that information, we're going to give it to the design team. They will use it to refine the concept, to develop what we call a preferred alternative design.
In order to move to the next step, which is refinement of alternatives and selection of a preferred alternative, we need input from the public. If you would like to provide comments after the meeting, please fill out a comment card and submit it to the project team by mail, or submit comments by email at info@pelicanislandstudy.com. If Pelican Island is selected as the most competitive site in our region, what will happen next?
If it is determined that this is the right site, then the next step would be to move to a full and comprehensive master plan. The overall planning and implementation for this project is about 10 years, so we would be looking to be in operation in about 2020. This first exercise, the conceptual study, is due to be completed in September of 2010.
When the economic future is more uncertain, it becomes even more important for us to know where this economic engine is headed and how well it is running. The only way we can lead effectively is to understand what lies ahead. We have the resources we need to selectively target, go after, and then secure new business for the ports. And Pelican Island is a viable option for us to consider. We have been and are going to take a more direct and coordinated approach to ensure that we are well positioned for the coming economic growth. We value gathering community input as we engage in this planning process. Our experience over the years has taught us that building trust and a spirit of cooperation is key to the planning process.
Given our economic mandate to be the leaders on economic development for this region, the only way we can be successful in those efforts, the only way we can bring successful new facilities to bear as we grow, is when we listen to everybody that has a stake in those facilities.
Everybody's input counts. And whether you make your comments at a public meeting orally or whether you make your comments in writing like we're doing tonight, those comments have enormous weight with the study team. Each and every comment is going to be cataloged and considered. So we're grateful for your input, and it will be considered.
Looking at Pelican Island as a window of the future will allow the port to become relevant, rebuild its facilities, and become a strong economic engine for the community.
The ports of Galveston and Houston have been part of this region for more than a century. As we move forward as partners in this project, we invite you to be part of the planning process.